for letting me do this second interview with you, and it's really great to have interviewed you for the first time and talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is vegan diet. And I appreciate all your work that you do in the world, and trying to help people find peace and happiness. And you're always a busy man. What do you have going on these days?
Right. Yeah. So a couple of main things. Number one is we're just getting ready to go on a pretty big lecture tour. And we'll be leaving here in about a week and a half, November 4th. And I'll
Yes.
be with Madeline, my wife Madeline, and I will be traveling, and we have a little camper van. We'll be gone for 5 months, and we're doing lots of lecture presentations and so forth, and some music, some art exhibits, but it's mainly spreading the vegan message. And we'll be doing events in Nevada, and then in Utah, and then into Colorado, and then Kansas, Missouri, and Ohio, and Virginia, and then heading south down through North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, into Florida. And we'll spend a couple of months in Florida doing events all around Florida, especially at the Hippocrates Health Institute. We'll be there for 6 weeks doing talks and concerts, and also at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, which will be down in it's in Homestead, which is just north of the Florida Keys. And then we'll be heading back and doing some lectures on the way back and other presentations in Texas and Arizona, Southern California. So we'll be back in April. So we're just getting ready for that. And then the other big thing is a book that I've been working for about 3 or 4 years on, and it's now just getting finished. And so that's exciting because that'll be coming out this probably next month, November or December. It's at the publishers, and they have to work on it and get it all ready. So we'll see. Yeah.
Fantastic. So now, have you ever? You were talking about the states you've been to. Have you ever been to Idaho at all?
Oh yeah, we've been to every state.
Yeah.
Giving lectures. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And just curious, I was thinking about how far America has come. I mean, do you feel like there's a lot of awareness of veganism now? I mean, how do you feel that has changed?
Well, I think I think, Bobby, it's growing. It's being, it's like anything, people don't like it too much. Most people feel like they want to not hear about food. They'd rather just eat what they're eating.
Yeah.
But then there's the concerns about their health for a lot of people, and they're getting sick a lot. And there's concerns about the environment, concerns about the animal abuse, especially for young people. And for some people, the spiritual dimension, and they just don't want to contribute to cruelty and violence unnecessarily. So I think there's a steady growth of awareness, but there's also huge pushback here. A lot of people are just saying, well, it's all kind of ridiculous, especially actually since the vegan movement is getting, I think, invaded by toxic characters that are trying to basically promote really unhealthy foods and calling them vegan. A lot of genetically engineered foods and Franken foods, factory. These so-called plant-based, which means it comes from a factory, a plant, and
Yes.
The whole plant-based movement, I think, in a lot of ways is making people who are not vegan think that vegans just eat nothing but junk food. They eat all this horrible food. So I think it's really important for vegans to get off of that and eat healthy, whole, organic food that is obviously without any animal products. And also I think mostly raw is a good idea too. And really be healthy, take care of our health. Because if we have all these people that say they're vegan and then they're unhealthy and they eat these vegan junk foods, and then they say, I tried being a vegan, it didn't work for me, so I'm not going to do it anymore. And it just destroys the movement. So there's quite a bit of aggressive action in the United States to try to tear down the vegan movement. I think from outside and infiltration, going in as well. and a lot of books coming out about how plants are toxic. Plants have all these substances in them that are hard to digest because they don't want you to eat them. So everybody's saying, "Oh, you can't eat plants; you won't survive."
Yeah.
So I've been,
Yeah.
Madeline and I have both been, vegans for over 40 years, and we're thriving, and there's millions of people like us. So it's just, and we're not different, and we all have, I think, basically the same physiology. So it's really good to question all this stuff, and we don't have to be violent and abusive to animals to be healthy. That's the bottom line, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was think I made some notes last night. I was laying in bed and just kept coming up with a few notes, and one of them was this idea of getting into veganism for I was having a conversation last night with a gal from Germany, and I think she was 19 years old, and actually I was sketching her portrait, and we ended up talking, and she said she's a vegetarian. I don't think she was a vegan. I think she doesn't eat fish, she doesn't eat meat, but she probably eats dairy, which I definitely don't eat, and I think is one of the worst offenders, if not the biggest. Or well, it's up
Right.
there. But anyhow, she does eat eggs. But in any case, she loves animals and horses, and so she got into it for that. I think I almost got into it for spiritual reasons. I mean, I know you and I were talking the last time about cruelty to animals, and of course I don't like that, but I was kind of thinking that I really got into veganism for my own, like, uh evolvement as a person. We were talking about that last time. That how can we really evolve and become kinder, people to one another, if we have a graveyard in our bodies, and just these really closed off behavior towards one another, which is very archaic. And
Right.
I think that we came from societies in the past that were probably very advanced, like the Indian civilization, and probably before that, where people were just more spiritually advanced. I really do believe that. And I think we've just degraded this. I mean, here where I'm at, you've got the marijuana. I mean, you've got that there where you are too, marijuana movement and everything. And I'm actually becoming really against it. I mean, I do think it's good to have a choice, but I think that it's just another one of these things where people are not being healthy. Smoking and all this kind of behavior. It's just,
Yeah.
I hate to be everybody's nightmare here, but it's like all these add another unhealthy behavior to our already unhealthy behaviors. Go ahead.
Well, I agree. I think you're right that there were ancient civilizations that were more evolved probably than we are, at least spiritually. We,
Yeah.
for all of our technology, when you look around at the quality of the consciousness of most people, it's really kind of tragic because most people are in a lot of fear and a lot of anger and a lot of sadness and a lot of, on drugs a lot, either pharmaceutical drugs or, like you're saying, something to avoid reality. And there really aren't that many spiritual communities that I can. There are some that are really promoting compassion for animals and a healthy inner environment. A lot of people are spiritual and they're still eating animal foods, which I think is a big disconnection. And like you say, the powers that really are running things, which I think is a tiny minority of the population. So the plutocrats, the really wealthy,
Yeah.
tiny minority of people, their goal is that we are not healthy and not very aware, not very conscious, and deceived about health and deceived about everything, really, and fighting with each other. And
Yeah.
so I think all these things contribute to that. I think eating animals, that's what my new book is called Food for Freedom. And it's really
Mm.
focusing on how when we enslave animals, we are playing right into our own enslavement. We're causing our own enslavement. Whatever we do to animals, we end up doing to ourselves. And so force medicating them, tracking them, microchipping them, exploiting and abusing them. It's the same thing's going to happen to us. It is happening. We can see it
Mm-hmm.
happening. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really emphasizing the importance of liberating animals for our own freedom, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, uh, well, yeah, what can I say? Let's see. Let me take a sip of this here while I'm, okay. Uh, so next question. You were talking about raw food, and yeah, I'm basically back onto the raw food diet for the most part. I started raw food when I was like 20, 25, I think. Yeah, 25. And and I actually think that if we don't start eating more raw food, we're not going to have any more raw food left. You know what I mean? If we don't start buying produce, there's not going to be any produce anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm afraid of. It's like where I'm at in Asia. I mean, the greens are. You would think that over here you would have a lot better quality of greens and salads and things like this, but it's just kind of puny and pathetic. And I struggle to get a salad in my bowl every day. It seems like. I mean,
Hmm.
uh, it's certainly not like California. I mean, we are kind of spoiled with the kale and all the great greens over there, but it just I just worry about the future of fruits and vegetables. It
Hmm.
seems like we don't maybe I worry too much, Will. Do you think? I mean, it just seems
Yeah,
like
no, I think it's good to be aware of these things. It's like anything else, like they say, use it or lose it. If we don't actually
yeah,
have a demand for something, it's the suppliers aren't going to supply it. They'll supply whatever the demand is. So I think, yeah, you're right. The demand right now, of course, is for a lot of people is really pretty toxic food. And so more and more we're decentralizing. Like we actually, where we live, we've planted 76 up. We're up to 76 fruit trees, fruit and nut
yeah,
trees. So we actually are just harvested a lot of persimmons and walnuts, and we're growing our own food, and we support the local farmers in the farmers market who have some greens, and we have beds of greens and things too. It takes work, but I think we don't like to buy stuff at the grocery store because we just think that a lot of the quality isn't very good. We're not sure
right,
really what's on it. Even if they say organic now, it's hard to say.
right.
So we do buy things, but we're thinking it's a good idea for all of us to try to get a little more, either if not self-sufficient, at least try to get to know some people who are growing food in your area. I know it's hard in the city, but we're way out in the country, so we can do that. And I think it's good if people are aware of what you're saying, because supply chains are starting to frazzle, and I think there could definitely be difficulties getting some foods. So it's good to be
Hmm.
aware
Yeah,
of that. Yeah.
and also I was well, I think that unfortunately, uh, it seems to take crisis for people to become aware. But the now people, the next question is, I have a friend in Florida, and he keeps telling me, he says, Bob, you're on a low protein diet. You're not. He he's on a raw food. He eats raw. turkey and
Oh
raw
no.
meat, and he says, "Well, are you still on that low protein